Hello and welcome everyone to this session, lecture 5th on the electricity and magnetism class. So today we are going to discuss about the applications of Gauss's law. All right. So before we talk about the applications of Gauss's law, let us first recap a bit what is the meaning of Gauss's law. So in the previous class we have discussed about Gauss's law in very detail, where we have come across this statement of Gauss's law, which says the electric flux through any closed surface enclosing a charge q is given by q upon epsilon naught. Now, how exactly we find this out? We exactly find this out by taking this surface integral. This is a surface integral, and we talked about this electric field because this is a point charge. So electric field due to a point charge is q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square. And then we talked about the area element of a spherical unit. So ultimately, after solving for this integration, we get it to be q by epsilon naught, which actually proves the Gauss's law. And we also came across the divergent form of the Gauss's law. This is, however, an integral form, and we obtained the divergence form from the integral form. All right. So what we need to take away from this particular topic is that the total charge, if it is enclosed by a surface, is q, then the flux out of this closed surface is q upon epsilon naught. Now let us see how exactly this happens to be helpful to us in determining the electric field. Now the question is, there is something that we have to remember, that Gauss's law is always true. For example, you have whatever form of a surface. For example, this is a surface, or it could be this kind of a surface. Now remember, everything whatever I draw here has got a three-dimensional perspective. Nothing is two-dimensional in actuality. All right, everything is three-dimensional. Only I am representing it in a two-dimensional space. Now let's consider this has enclosed a charge plus q, this has enclosed a charge plus q, and the shape could be of multi-dimensional, multifold, you can say. There is no definite shape. This can also be a surface which has enclosed a charge plus q. Now the question is, when and how exactly you can find, or you can apply the Gauss's law to find the electric field. Now for these two surfaces, so this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. Now out of these 3, the surface 3 is very symmetric. It has got a spherical symmetry. However, surface 1 and 2, they do not have any specific symmetry. Alright. So we want to make this statement that Gauss's law is always true. Now if you ask what is the flux through the surface of electric field, I would definitely say this is q upon epsilon naught. And same, q upon epsilon naught here also, q upon epsilon naught here also. But only thing is that you cannot apply Gauss's law to find the electric field. Why? Because you will not be sure of this integral. Now you can find the electric field only if you can evaluate this integral, not otherwise. You are sure about this right hand term, but you are not sure about this left hand term. Why? Because provided the angle between electric field and the dA is not known to us, or it is varying, in that case what we cannot do, we cannot take out E out of this integral sign. Suppose there is a situation, for example, you consider a spherical symmetry. Now in the case of a spherical symmetry, electric field at a particular point is directly along the direction of the area element. Now for example, this is the sphere. So from the center of this sphere, electric field along this side is E, and area element is also along this side, say n cap, which is perpendicular to the surface at that point. Now if you talk about this particular direction, this is the direction of electric field, and what is the direction of the area element at this point? It is the same. So that is why at every point on this sphere, doesn't matter the flux come out through which point on this sphere, at every point on this sphere, the electric field is parallel to the area element, and the angle between them happens to be 0. So if angle is 0, then you can write E dot dA to be E magnitude, then dA magnitude cos of theta. This is our notion, or something that we know from our vector calculus. So dE dA cos of 0 degree, which is nothing but 1. So this is EDA. So if you put this in this integral, instead of E dot dA, now you get EDA. You need not to give any vector sign because these are magnitudes now. But of course you have to give this particular circle because this is a closed loop integral. This becomes q upon epsilon naught. And however, what you can do now, you can take out E outside this integral and you can write this. Now this particular integral is independent because why? It doesn't depend upon the electric field. What it depends upon? It depends upon the shape of the charge distribution. If the charge distribution has spherical symmetry, then this integral is going to give you the total area, which is 4 pi say r square, where r is the radii of some kind of a sphere you have considered. If it is cylinder, then it is going to give you the area of the cylinder. If you consider it to be something else, say for example a planar surface, then it is going to give you the area of that. So what you remain with only the calculation of the area, and that is very well known from the shape. So that is the reason. If this could have been done only because we consider a symmetry, either a spherical symmetry or a cylindrical symmetry or a plane symmetry. So in these cases 1 and 2, the Gauss's law happens to be true, but you cannot apply. Why? Because you are not sure of whether this dot product between E and A will be maintained or not. And even if it is then maintained, in that case also, even if you can write that E dot dA equal to EDA cos of 0, where cos of 0 to be 1, then EDA, and take out the electric field, even then you are not sure about this integral of the area, because you do not know how to find out for a complex shape. Now for example in this case, I mean I'm definitely sure that in this case it is very difficult to find out the total area in case 1 I'm talking about, isn't it? Even in case 2 it is difficult to find out or have an estimate of the total area. So that is the reason why for asymmetric surfaces Gauss law is very hard to be applied. So it works the best whenever you have got either a spherical symmetry or a cylindrical symmetry or the planar symmetry or plane symmetry. All right. So in applications of Gauss law, we shall restrict ourselves to those problems only which fall either in any of these three categories of symmetry. It has to be either of spherical symmetry or cylindrical symmetry or planar symmetry. All right. I hope this part is clear. Now, I mean, before I go into this discussion, let us take this into a problem formulation. All right. And in today's class, I will take up two different problems. The first problem is of spherical symmetry. So problem 1, it says that find the field, that means electric field, outside a uniformly charged solid sphere. Find the field outside a uniformly charged solid sphere of radius r, capital R, okay, and total charge q. So how exactly this can be solved? Very easy. You consider a small spherical surface here which has got a radius to be capital R, and let this as enclosed a charge capital Q. Now what is your next task? It has been said that this charge is uniformly, I mean this contains uniform charge plus Q. All right. So basically charge plus Q is within this volume. So basically I should not draw actually these charges outside. But let us consider a new surface which is symmetric about the old surface. That means if the old surface has got a symmetry of sphere, the new surface should also have a symmetry of sphere. Now this is known as the Gaussian surface. This is something which you have to make. All right. Now we know from the Gauss's law integration E dot dA, that is to be Q enclosed upon epsilon naught. Now we know that Q enclosed equal to small q. Now, but what about the E dot dA? Now, since this is a spherical symmetry, we are pretty sure that the angle between electric field and the area element happens to be 0. So, I can right away write it to be EDA. And here I am writing Q upon epsilon naught. So, electric field can be taken outside these integration signs because this is an integral of dA which does not depend upon electric field, Q upon epsilon naught. And of course, you can find out this integral because this is a sphere, but you are considering the Gaussian surface at a distance small r from the origin of the old sphere. So that is why you are basically evaluating the integral considering this surface of concern. So that is the reason why it will be 4 pi small r square, not capital R square, because you have considered Gaussian surface outside the uniformly charged sphere. So electric field at a distance r is Q by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. Observe that this is same as that of a point charge. Suppose I give you a point charge plus Q and I ask you to find the electric field at a distance r, then what will be the electric field at this point? The same as you have got in this expression. That means it doesn't matter whether you have been given a uniformly charged sphere or a point charge at any larger distance smaller from that sphere or the point charge, the electric field happens to be the same for both the cases. All right, so if you wish to write it in vector form, you will write it as E vector Q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square r cap, means it goes along the radius vector. All right, so this is how you should solve for this particular. This is first application, the very easiest application of Gauss's law, okay, which involves a spherical symmetry. Next, let us go on solving a problem of cylindrical symmetry. So in this case, once again, the problem statement, there is, I mean, we can frame it in the form of a problem. The problem statement goes like this. Let's say this is question number 2, that a long cylinder carries a charge density that is proportional to the distance that is proportional to the distance from the axis as rho to be given by some ks, okay, where k is some positive constant. All right, so you have to find the electric field inside this cylinder. Remember, this time it is inside the cylinder. Find the electric field inside the cylinder. Okay, solution. How exactly the situation look like? The situation is you have got a long cylinder which has got a charge distribution. So this is the axis of the cylinder and this has got a charge distribution. Somewhere it is completely distributed. It's a volume charge distribution. Now you have to consider a Gaussian surface inside. Why? Because you are asked to find out the electric field inside the cylinder. So what you are going to do, you are going to take an surface, Gaussian surface, some distance, say s prime, okay, from the axis of the cylinder, and then see how much charge is being enclosed by the small cylinder, which is basically the Gaussian surface. So this is nothing but the Gaussian surface. So what you have to first find, you have to find the total charge enclosed. So how to find that total charge enclosed? Q enclosed is equal to integration rho d tau. So you have to take a volume integral. Which volume integral? Within this volume, the smaller cylinder basically, over tau. Now how to take the volume integral? Because rho has been given to be some ks prime, because it varies with um, the distance from the axis of this cylinder. That's how rho varies, and multiplied by the cylindrical volume unit, that's given by, say, s prime, ds prime, some d phi, and dz. Now this is a volume integral, remember. So volume integral has to be divided into three different integrals. One is 0 to s prime k s prime square ds prime. Second one is 0 to twice pi d phi. Third one happens to be 0 to L dz. Now what is L? L I have considered is to be the length of this small cylinder. So Z is this direction. This direction is the Z direction. This is the S direction, or S prime. And phi is, suppose you have considered a cylinder like this, then phi gives you this angle variation. Means it goes from 0 to twice pi, because it will come once again back to the same. So it has got a twice pi circulation. So 0 to twice pi d phi is going to give you twice pi after integral, and 0 to L dz is going to give you L after taking integration. So the value of this integral happens to be twice pi, k comes from here, k L 0 to s prime square ds prime. All right. So what you get out of this, because if you do this, it is going to give you s prime cube upon 3. So directly I am doing it, 2 upon 3 pi kl s prime cube. This is what is the enclosed charge. Okay, because we have been given the volume charge density, from there we have taken the total enclosed charge. Now it's very simple, just simply apply the Gauss's law, which is given by E dot dA to be is equal to Q enclosed upon epsilon naught. Now this is going to be integration dA. These are all surface integrals, by the way. Q enclosed, which you have to write now, this is given by 2 upon thrice epsilon naught, then pi kl s prime cube. So E into, now this is the surface integral of the surface of the Gaussian surface. Now what is the area of the Gaussian surface? I mean talking about this particular area through which the electric field lines are coming, the external area. So that is going to be twice pi SL, twice pi S prime L, because I have considered it of radius S prime. So 2 by thrice epsilon naught pi K. Alright, so from here twice pi gets cancelled, L gets cancelled, we remain with E to be is equal to 1 upon thrice epsilon naught K S prime square, because 1 S prime will get cancelled. So 1 upon thrice epsilon naught K S prime square. This is what is in the magnitude form, or if you write it in vector form, you can just write it to be 1 upon thrice epsilon naught K S prime square, some S cap, means along the direction of the radius vector. So that's how we can find. Now in this case I have given you a trick that First find the symmetry of the problem, and by looking at the symmetry of the problem, go on framing a Gaussian surface. Now it depends. If you are given a charge distribution and you have to find the electric field at a large distance from that charge distribution, then the Gaussian surface will be outside the charge distribution. And if you are asked to find inside, somewhere inside the charge distribution, then Gaussian surface will be inside that charge distribution, but you have to maintain the symmetry. Because if your charge distribution is cylindrically symmetric, you cannot make a spherical Gaussian surface. That doesn't make any sense. All right. So accordingly, you please carry forward your activities and do other problems also. In next two classes or next couple of classes, we will once again bring some more problems related to applicability of the Gauss's law. There are lot of problems, and it is always a good practice to uh, go for as much as problem you can do numerical problems. All right. So see you in the next class. Thank you so much.